Okay, so if I do this properly, this video will take about 60 minutes. Please watch it in its entirety, because what we're doing is I've made the unilateral decision, we're pivoting completely, and as a company, since the majority of you have joined, this is the most important conversation we've had so far. So everything changes after this. I wanted to go over how over the past month or two, you may have noticed that I've become increasingly withdrawn, and how I need to stop looking at myself here. I've become increasingly withdrawn, and so like there's all of the signs of me falling into a major depression, which, as you know, I am prone to, and it's something I've mentioned from the beginning. So I do want to share that I am in a full-on major depression, and I'm really struggling. There's going to be times during this video that I'm going to sound angry. The majority of it's going to be self-directed. It's not aimed at anyone in particular. The past couple of weeks have been really difficult for me, and so a lot of that has had to do with a loss of identity, a loss of the mission, a loss of faith in what we're doing, and so I'll get into that. But I've been kind of going through the motions while feeling kind of dead on the inside, and increasingly I started to feel like I'm paying to be an employee at my own company. So like I said, we're pivoting entirely, and everything changes after this. But first, I want to share the original vision and just background. As you know, I have autism, and how I learned social skills. Usually, let's see if I can try to draw this out. Usually, like, it would be me, and I would have a friend. Let's just give me a hat. I would have a friend who would witness me making a social faux pas. I would say or do something stupid, right? To a third party. That's a third party. And what would happen is that my friend would do two things. One, later on, they would tell me that I did something wrong. You made a faux pas, social faux pas. And then the number two thing, that's what they would do, is they would tell me I made a social faux pas. And number two is they would run cover for me to this third party person and defend my actions. Now, when I'm not like full on depressed, like I'm usually pretty decent at having learned a lot of things from my various friends, people important in my life. I learned how to have a lot of masking skills. Man, I can't spell. So I learned masking skills. So I learned how to be good at masking. And I still make a lot of mistakes. I still make a lot of faux pas and stuff, but it's not nearly as bad as it used to be. And for the most part, people can't tell that I'm autistic. But when I am depressed, it's harder for me to hide it. Anyway, so just to recap, I'd make a social faux pas. My friend would tell me later on, save me, I guess, from embarrassment at the time. And then they would also defend me to the third party. And I'll tell you what the original idea was, because not only are my friends good at this, you know what is also good at this? Is AI, for the most part. AI is decent at this. And so here's what the idea was initially. The initial idea was a VR, I guess it would be a VR social, like, experience, open world with, I guess, AI powered NPCs. And so once again, this would be me, right? Now, instead of being in the real world, I would wear my VR goggles, right? And then instead of once again, I'm wearing a hat. Once again, instead of interacting with a real person, this time I get to say and do something stupid to an NPC. NPC. So this time I've said or done something stupid. The NPC, AI-driven NPC, would react like a real person reacts, like real person. However, this would allow me to get feedback without actually damaging my social position in the real world. And in addition to that, I would have AI-powered NPC friends and family, who once again would tell me things like, hey, social faux pas. You should do this, or whatever. And then I could fix that thing that I said that was stupid and be like, hey, I misspoke the other day. I misspoke, I'm sorry. And then the AI NPC, this time, knowing our conversation in the past, would be like, oh, I understand, or whatever it is that neurotypical people would do. That's how I envisioned it. It would take place in this giant open world, and it would have been, I guess it would have developed skills over a long period of time. It was intended to be a very long game. And I think that I would have been able to compress decades of my learning into something like maybe 2 years of gameplay. So I think that it would have been pretty decent. It would have gotten, I think, someone who played it consistently to the point that I am at now much quicker, because everything could be compressed down. So what for me was a very traumatic social experience, and I guess kind of punishing me and harming my standing in life, could have just happened in the game, where if you accidentally offend someone, you can go to an early save point. You can try things over and over again until you are able to be authentically yourself while being able to experiment with an AI that knows how humans generally react, that you can make these mistakes without damaging or destroying your life. And it would have been a role-playing game and lots of fun, in my opinion. I was building it for myself. I was building it for people like me. I was building it because it was something I truly believed in. It would have been a safe space to practice thousands of interactions, and I would have learned social skills along the way, and people who used it would have learned social skills along the way. Why? Because the AI powered NPCs. But that never came to pass. So that was the original vision. Now I want to talk about how the vision got destroyed. I've always been about the mission, and the mission has been to help people with autism. And the way it could have helped people with autism is something like this, or something that we evolved into. Whatever it is that we did, that was to help people with autism. But here's the thing. I started to lose faith in what we were creating. Like, I wasn't sure that it really pushed what we were doing with autism. And it kind of became something that exists simply to exist. because we were creating something initially that at least one person in the world would use. This, I would have used it, to creating something where we have a solution and we're trying to find a problem, and even in front of our target audience, we're not getting strong signals even that they're interested in what we're creating. And so here's how things got diluted. Investors and stuff, people would say, oh, VR is too expensive, or we're not investing in VR, or the open world, it's too big of a challenge, it's too expensive, the timelines are too long. And that's what really turned me off to investors for a while, because their timelines aren't always aligned with the timelines that it takes for real learning to occur, for real education to occur. If we're talking about an exit for an investor of 5 to 7 years, when real change, when it comes to people with autism or other things, takes place over 10, 15 years, when you get questions like, how do you know it works? Or, it's like, where's the data behind this and stuff? It's like, well, I can point towards research that suggests that it might work, but I can't prove it. And so we end up with a credibility problem. We end up with a timeline problem. We end up with misaligned values problems. And then eventually I'm like, all right, we're not gonna build what I truly believe in. We're just gonna whittle it away. Let's see if we can make this from VR to a mobile gaming platform. And then once we start hearing from parents that they don't want to play games, it's like, oh, I guess we're not doing games anymore. We won't use the word games. Now it's just like, okay, it's a learning tool. And then it goes from learning tool to, oh, I don't want my child on the phone. So it's just like, well, what is it then? So what we ended up ultimately with, and we still honestly can't even find anyone to really have any interest in this, is we ended up with emotion flashcards that are powered by computer vision. Why computer vision? I don't know, because that's the only thing that makes us unique, honestly. And so it ended up being a problem where we were forcing a solution to a problem that I guess exists, but you know what the solution is? Therapists. And we were trying to force tech into it so that it could get into the hands of people that might not have access to therapists, but the tech wasn't getting developed. So what we ended up with is an extremely expensive tool that people do not want to use. And here's how I know that it was dead, and this happened to me about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, is I thought to myself that if I were a parent and I had a child that had autism and this product were free, would I use it? And if I was being honest to myself, I wouldn't even use the product that we were developing. And if we're going to try to monetize it, there is no hope that this product is going to succeed. Not in any form near what it is right now. And so to go back onto the compromises that I was talking about is, once again, let's just go over this. We started with VR open world AI RPG role-playing game. We went from that, okay, this was the original thing. Then we went to mobile open world AI RPG. Then we went to computer vision game to learn emotion skills. 2-player mom and child what was story driven. And this was supposed to be worldwide. Then we went to that, but only in Vietnam, because we were having marketing issues. We couldn't get things out. We couldn't get ads for some reason in the US or in Singapore or anything. So we were stuck in Vietnam. To, okay, no story now. No story, emotion statues. To now, facial recognition. And then using facts. Facts is facial, I can't spell, facial action coding system. Months later, we're still struggling with this. What is it? I don't know what we're building. But honestly, it could be accomplished with a website. You can just go to a website and do the same thing that we're doing. In addition to that, we're struggling to beg parents, beg clinicians, beg everyone to just try our product. And it's not going well. It undermines, I don't know. I really don't know. But as far as I can tell, parents are unwilling to try it. Parents are unwilling to tell us what the problem is. But that's potentially partially because we're in Vietnam. But what I've tried to gather from parents in Vietnam, as far as I can tell, I've distilled everything down to two things that they truly care about. They care about, if their child is nonverbal, they care about getting them to speak. If their child is verbal, they care about getting them better grades. And as far as I can tell, nothing else matters. And so I try to make the argument that, hey, and this is true, by the way, that if your child has better social and emotional understanding, they're likely to get more peer support. They're less likely to be ignored or put in the corner and being told to just ignore that child, which happens apparently. Their grades will improve. If they're struggling with speaking, they're going to speak better. For whatever reason, that's not getting across. And so when it comes to nonverbal children, I have no experience with speech pathology. And when it comes to children that have verbal skills, well, I don't have any real skills in pedagogy or child development or any of that. And honestly, neither do any of us to a real extent. We try to get help from professionals. It's happening. We've met good people. We've met good parents. But for every step that we take forward, it feels like somehow we're taking 2 steps back. And the weeks and the months, they pile on and on and on. And meanwhile, I'm constantly being convinced to water down and cut away what it is that I was trying to create until we have something that I don't even like. I don't even like it. We end up with something I don't like, I wouldn't use, I certainly wouldn't pay for. And I'm not sure would even help. I think it might, if we stick to my vision, my watered down vision, if we stick to my vision, it might help. But maybe not. But it still doesn't change the fact that I don't even like it. And it's nowhere near my vision. And this is why I was saying sometimes that 1 year ago, on this day 1 year ago, I was significantly closer to my vision, and I was significantly closer to what I cared about because I was in the accelerator program 1 year ago, October 2024, than I am today, October 2025. Only now I am much poorer than I used to be, and I'm depressed. So what we've gone from is something I believed in, something I cared about, something I was passionate about, to something I don't even want to wake up in the morning for. And now we're building we're building solutions for problems that I never had, I never understood, and I never really studied to a meaningful extent. Speech pathology, developmental psychology, or abnormal psychology. So I don't have any expertise in this, not to any meaningful extent. Getting people to talk to us is like pulling teeth, whereby getting a parent to agree to us, we get like one new parent every like 2 weeks at best. So that means that by the end of an entire year of hard work, we might have 25 parents. I mean, maybe if it went exponential, that would work. But right now it's linear. It's negative linear somehow. It's not working. Okay. And that's one of many reasons why we're pivoting. Among other things like language difficulties, not understanding the market. I don't understand the market. Different values, stuff like that. I feel like in trying to make things work, I've constantly been convinced to change my mind. Like I said, it got to a point where even if this was free, even if I had a child with autism, I don't think I would use it. So we started with me building something for myself, something that at least one person on the entire planet would use, to building something where we have to beg people to try it out, that we're not sure if even one person would use. Because the same one person that would have used a product here, just say that's one, is not the same person that would use this. And I'll be honest, I don't even understand what it is that parents want here. And that's in addition to regulatory for just regulatory bullshit, which is necessary, I understand, for children, for not disadvantaged, whatever, for at risk, we'll just say at risk people. So you have regulatory, you have things like the FDA would never approve it. We have things like HIPAA and privacy stuff. Then we have parent skepticism. I can't spell. We have parent skepticism. I don't think I remember a parent ever once being excited. Excited? No. Not once. However, when I used to describe this, the VR open world, 100% of parents were excited. Sure, we didn't have the technical skills to build this, but at least we knew that people liked it. Right here, I don't think anyone likes it. And the reason why I keep harping on the same thing over and over again is what I'm getting to about not being compromised, about not being whittled away, not being nickeled and dimed, not being death by 1,000 cuts. I don't want that anymore, because that's what took me from 1 to 0. That's the opposite of how startups go. Startups go from 0 to 1. We went backwards in the past year. Part of it is by following standard startup and design practices. And I understand the concepts a little bit. I'm not going to pretend like I'm amazing at this or anything. I understand a little bit the design process. But here's the thing. The design process works, and brainstorming and all of these things work when you have a problem, right? You have this nebulous problem, and then you have people, potentially disinterested people, trying to fix the problem, right? And these people may or may not give a shit. May not give a shit. So what you need to do is you need to pull ideas out of them. You need to pull ideas out of them to apply to the problem. To apply to the problem. They might not give a shit. You gotta pull ideas out of them, maybe apply it to the problem. And then you need to iterate. Where this falls apart, in my opinion, I'm sure someone way smarter than me can cut down my ideas entirely, is when you have someone that's like me. I hate saying vision-led founder. Well, let's just say that's what I am. That happens to also be the primary target user, that happens to be well educated in this, educated in field, that happens to have immense amounts of experience, is also a significant pain point in life, and would also do anything to change it. What would a vision-led founder with all of these things going for them, the primary target user happens to be well educated in it, immense amounts of experience with it, significant pain point in life, and would do anything to change it? What would a person like that do? Well, you don't really have to do all these games to like have a bunch of disinterested committee of people forcing ideas out of them. Because this person already has the ideas. This person would do everything in their power and apply their everything. In fact, what I'm already doing, writing on this board, is me applying my thought towards the problem. That's the difference between design by committee and design by vision. Because one thing is extremely clear about this vision-led founder, in this case me, is I 100% give a shit. Because autism defines every single moment of my life, and I would do anything to change it. And that's what makes me different. I 100% give a shit. Just going over my notes. So here's what we are building. This is the pivot. I just spent the last however long talking about the problem, and thanks for bearing with me. Here's the pivot. The name stays the same, Otter Draft. Because in this case, it actually even makes more sense. Because what we're building is, I don't like this term, but neurodiverse dating app. And before you roll your eyes, it's going to be different. Alright? But it's not just dating app, it's friends, Friends, I need to spell, and networking. And so here's the thing. Here's the why. Because autistic adults, to include myself, are chronically lonely. And these text-first, swipe-based apps fail them. So what we're building is a short form, video first,